A beautiful morning to you, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers, the program where we present and discuss major headlines from newspapers within and outside Nigeria. I am INIOLUWA ADEKOYA, and with me this morning is
ABDULRASAQ, ALAWAYE. Good morning, INIOLUWA.
Good morning, Razak. This morning I will be reviewing headlines from the Old newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Nation newspaper, while my colleague will take us through headlines from.
We have the Daily Post newspaper, we have the Old newspaper, and the Nation newspaper as well.
We will take a short break. When we return, we will go straight into our first set of headlines. Glad to have you back. You're still on to In the Papers, a newspaper review program. And to the headlines beginning from the Old newspaper.
Okay, starting from the Old newspaper, where I have the story coming through your hair. We have Nigerians' poor health indicates worrisome, says expert from Ondo State.
Talking Ondo to Old RE Students Festival, November.
Still on the Old newspaper, we have Ondo one senior civil servant against use of private emails.
Still on the Old newspaper, federal government raises flood alert on Ondo, 14 other states, 69 communities.
Still taking story from Ondo as well from the Old newspaper. Millions lost to a fire race shop in Akungba.
Still on the Old newspaper, Southeast government pushing for Nnamdi Kanu's release, says OT.
Still talking about the Old newspaper, we have Ondo Assembly hail civil servant reform, assure legislative support.
I take a flight to the Punch newspaper, and SCDC brokers peace among Oshun warring communities.
Let me join you shortly on the Punch newspaper as well. We have Ladoja's 32 years old journey to Olubadan throne.
And still on the Punch newspaper, magistrates send lawyer to prison over Uzodima's criticism.
Still talking about from the Punch newspaper, 2027 presidency, coalition demands Atiku Obi's full membership.
Back to the Old newspaper, Oyebanji invest 14.2 billion naira in Ekiti education sector.
Still talking from the Punch newspaper, Southeast government pushing for Nnamdi Kanu's release, says OT.
On the Old newspaper, FRSC renews fees to carry arms.
Still taking story from the Daily Post newspaper, lawyers film as magistrates court sent lawyer to court.
Still back to the Punch newspaper, Lagos seeks to expand oil sector.
From the Daily Post newspaper, we have Dangote refinery sack all Nigerian workers. 24 hours they submitted their names to Pegasus.
Still on the Punch newspaper, PDP vows 2027 comeback, says APC failed Quara.
And with that, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of this story and more.
Glad to have you back. You're still on to In the Papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. Beginning from the Old newspaper on this Ondo story, Ondo to Old RE Students Festival, November. And now the details. The Ondo state government has announced plans to host RE Students Festival in November as part of activities marking this year's International Students' Day. The Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on State Affairs, Mr. Kevin Solomon Olaolu, disclosed this during an interview with newsmen recently. According to him, the event, which has the approval of the state governor, Honorable Lucky Ayedatiwa, would commence a few days before the global commemoration on November 17th. Olaolu explained that the festival was designed to bring students across primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions together while addressing pressing issues on cultism, internet fraud, and drug abuse through sensitization and mentoring. The SSA stressed that force would not solve the problem, emphasizing the importance of counseling and mentorship in redirecting young people. For more details on that story, see the Old newspaper with the headline Ondo to Old RE Students Festival November.
From the Hope newspaper as well, we have Ondo one senior civil servant against the use of private emails. Now to the detail of the story. Senior civil servant in Ondo State had been cautioned against the use of private email addresses for official correspondence as the state government moves to enrich a technology-driven public administration. The warning was issued by the chairman of the State Information and Technology Agency (SITA), Tomide Akinribido, while chairing the Chipan 2025 night organized by the Chartered Institute of Public Administration of Nigerians (CIPAN) Ondo State Chapter on Thursday in Akure. Akinribido disclosed that Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa had approved internet connectivity for all ministries, departments, and agencies in the state. He noted that the present administration was taking measures to drive in innovation and improve service delivery. He described public administrators as the backbone of government, urged them to embrace technology provided by the state to enhance efficiency and productivity. For more detail of this story, check the Open newspaper with the headline Ondo warns senior civil servant against the use of private emails.
Still on the Earth newspaper, federal government raises flood alert on Ondo, 14 other states, 69 communities. And now the details. The federal government has issued a flood alert for Ondo, 14 other states, and 69 communities, warning that heavy rain fell between September 24 and will go on till 28, 2025, and this could trigger widespread flooding. The advisory was released recently by the National Flood Early Warning Center of the Ministry of Environment. States identified at risk include Adamawa, Anambra, Bayelsa, Borno, Delta, Edo, Imo, Kano, Katsina, Ondo, Oyo, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, and Zamfara. Communities likely to be affected include Yola, Yenegua, Wari, Benin City, Oguta, Kano, Jibala, Akure, Oyo, Aoda, Shagari, Seti, and Gusau, among others. The center noted that the alert is part of the routine early warning system designed to reduce loss of lives and property during the peak of the raining season. It urged residents, local government authorities, and emergency agencies to take all necessary precautions. For more details on that story, see the Open newspaper with the headline Federal Government raises flood alert on Ondo, 14 other states, 69 communities.
Still talking story from the Open newspaper as well. We have Ayedatiwa approves the boreholes for Correctional Center, Children's Home, and Ministry. Now to the detail of the story. Ondo State Governor Honorable Lucky Ayedatiwa has approved the construction of boreholes at Ondo State Correctional Center, the Children's Home, and the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development Headquarters. Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Dr. Sheung Oshamaye, who disclosed this, said the intervention would end years of inadequate and unsafe water supply at the facility. She described access to clean water as vital for the health, hygiene, and well-being of children, women, and the other vulnerable groups in the state. Oshamaye noted that the immediate commencement at the project demonstrates the government's resolve to improve living conditions, especially for children, women, and others and those in correctional custody. She added that the initiative formed part of AIDATUWA's broader agenda to strengthen social welfare and promote sustainability development in Ondo State. Upon completion, the Bore project is expected to ease water-related challenges in the institution and create a safer and healthier environment for residents and staff. For more detail of the story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline Aidatuwa approves Bore for Correctional Center, Children's Home and Ministry.
I take a flight to the Punch newspaper with this headline: Southeast governors push for Nnamdi Kanu's release, says OT. And now to the details. Abia State Governor Alex Oti said governors of the Southeast are in discussions with the federal government over the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Speaking during his monthly media interactions with journalists, OT disclosed that the region governors were making efforts behind the scene to secure Kanu's freedom. The governor, however, noted that beyond the Kanu matter, his administration remains committed to strengthening security across the state, especially as the year draws close. He commended security agencies for maintaining relative peace in Abia, but urged residents to remain vigilant during the Ember month. The governor also gave updates on ongoing and upcoming infrastructure projects. It disclosed that President Bola Tinubu will I beg your pardon for that mistake. And now continuing on the Hope newspaper, it disclosed that President Bola Tinubu will visit Abia next Friday to inaugurate a number of completed roads in Aba. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline Southeast governors pushing for Nnamdi Kanu release, says OT.
Let me join you shortly on the Punch newspaper as well, where I have the story coming through your air from iPower 102.7 FM, Emurele Owo, Ondo State. You can also connect with us on our Facebook by joining and searching for iPower 102.7 FM, on our Instagram handle iPower 102.7 FM, TikTok as well iPower 102.7 FM, while on our X you can search for iPower 102.7 FM, or you can call us on our studio line on 081 655246999, 081 655246999 to share your contribution, your own opinion and perspective on the program and the headline read so far. Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper, where we have Ladoja 32 years journey to Olubadan throne. Now to the detail of the story. All road with coverage on the historical Mapo Hall. The venue of Echo making coronation of Oba Rashidi Ladoja as the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land, where for the coronation Ibadan is preparing for the roll call of Nigerian Creme de la Creme. The event is expected to surpass any in Olubadan history, with dignitaries led by President Bola Tinubu, who has confirmed his attendance in honor of his friend. Also expected are former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, governors, ex-governors, former ministers, traditional rulers, chief captain of industry, and other prominent personalities. Governor Sheyi Makinde will play host to the distinguished guests at what is already being described as the most glamorous and widely attended Olubadan coronation in history. The coronation marks a continuance of Olubadan centuries-old succession traditional, widely regarded as one of the most orderly and record-free systems in Yoruba land. From Ring Road to Bodija, Mokola to Ojoba and the surrounding axis, the city is already agog with cultural display, drumming and procession as residents prepare to welcome their new monarch. Hotels across the metropolis have been fully booked, with visitors trooping in from across Nigeria and beyond. For more details of this particular story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline Ladoja's 32-year journey to Olubadan throne.
Still on the Punch newspaper, NSCDC brokers peace among Oshun warring communities. And now the detail. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Oshun State Command, has facilitated a peace accord among three communities in the state, long plagued by recurring clashes. At an event marking the International Day of Peace in Oshogbo, the monarchs of the affected town, the Olufon of Ifon Oshun, Oba Peter Ikpadeola, the Eleri of Erin Oshun, Oba Yusuf Omoloye, and the Ilobu of Ilobu, and Oba Ashiru Olatoye, pledged to end hostilities and work towards lasting harmony. In a symbolic moment that drew applause, the traditional rulers shook hands and embraced one another, signaling that what many describe as a new chapter for the communities whose rivalry had claimed lives and hindered development. Oshun NSDC Commandant Igbalawole Sotiyo, in a statement obtained in Oshogbo, hailed the monarchs for their courage and sincerity, describing their gesture as a practical demonstration of unity. He urged them to lead by example in steering their people away from violence. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline NFCDC brokers peace among Oshun warring communities.
Still taking story from the Hope newspaper, where I have Nigerians poor health in dice, where some expert says that in Ondo State. Now to the detail of the story. Experts have raised concern over Nigerians poor health index, describing them as a wake-up call for urgent reform in the nation's healthcare system. Speaking at the third annual Faculty of Science Conference of the University of Medical Science, Ondo teamed the future of science and healthcare, harnessing the power of innovation and technology. They said innovation and technology remain critical to addressing the crisis. Delivering the keynote address on behalf of the Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Professor John Oladapo Obafunwa, Dr. David Oladide highlighted some disturbing figures. He said, and I quote, "In a country of over 230 million people, 70% live in a rural area. Life expectancy is 53.7 for male and 54.4 for female. Maternal mortality stands at 1,047% and 100,000 live births. Infant mortality at 69% and 1,000 live births, and under 5 mortality at 107 per 1,000 live births." Professor Obafunwa identified poor infrastructure, low funding, shortage of health professionalism, high disease bond, weak health indicators, and health insurance coverage of less than 10% of the population as factor worsening the nation's health woes. For more information on this particular story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline Nigeria's poor health indices, what some experts say that in Ondo State.
And on the Punch newspaper, magistrate sends lawyer to prison over Uzodima's criticism. And now the detail. An Owerri chief magistrate, Obina Njemanze, has ordered the remand of Owerri-based lawyer Chinedu Agu at the Owerri Correctional Center after his arraignment on charges alleging cyber stalking, criminal defamation, and incitement over opinion articles criticizing Governor Hope Uzodima's administration. Agu pleaded not guilty to the 4 counts charged, but Magistrate Njemanze, who also serves as Deputy Chief Registrar of the Imo State Judiciary, said he had no jurisdiction to try the matter and ordered Agu remanded pending the advice of the Imo State Director of Public Prosecutions. The matter was adjourned to October 29, 2025, but by which time the DPP is expected to assign the case to a court with competent jurisdiction. The charge against Agu stems from several social media posts in which he allegedly criticized the state government and the Nigerian police force. The prosecutor also claimed that on August 30th, 2025, Agu wrote on his social media handle, "The court are closed and justice has been kidnapped, not by bandits in the bush, but by bandits in government," and described the state as tyranny trapped in stinking bureaucracy. He was also accused of posting that until the leadership changes how it sees governance, nothing will change in this abandoned property called Imo State. And Enugu is walking, Imo is rotting. Comments the prosecutions insist were false and intended to incite unrest. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline, "Magistrate sends lawyer to prison over Uzodima's criticism."
Moving on shortly to the Punch newspaper, where I have 2027 presidency coalition demands Atiku Obi's full membership. We'll go on a short break with that. When we come back, we'll give you details of this story and more to come. Glad to have you back, and if you are just joining, you are on to In the Papers, a newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM in Murele, Owo, Ondo State. This is a program where we review and read newspapers across and Nigerian to you, to your listening pleasure, and to give you informative and educative information across Nigerian and beyond. You can also join us by searching for iPower 102.7 FM on Facebook, on Instagram and TikTok as well. While you can also join us on our X and do by searching for iPower 1027 FM. And you can also connect with us via our studio line by calling us on 081 6552 4699. 081 6552 4699. Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper. As rightly said before, we have a 2027 presidency coalition demands Atiku Obi's full membership support. Now, to the story. The leadership of the opposition coalition has demanded that its members resign from their current political parties and join the African Democratic Congress fully, although it gave no specification deadline for the transition. The National Publicity Secretary of ADC, Bolaji Abdullahi, stated this in Abuja on Thursday, following a Quashers meeting that includes senior party leaders and prominent political figures. The All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party have dismissed a directive by the African Democratic Congress directing prospective members in other parties to the camp to the ADC ahead of the 2027 general election. The APC and the PDP said the move by the coalition posed no threat and would have no impact on them, since the ADC was introduced in July 2nd as a coalition platform to challenge President Bola Tinubu in 2027 election. A few opposition leaders have switched parties to join it. However, most have yet to formally leave their existing parties. For instance, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar left the People's Democratic Party but has not officially joined the ADC. Similarly, Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential 2023 general election, and several others continue to remain in their respective party despite associating themselves with the coalition party. Abdullahi also stated that all matters related to the African Democratic Association have now been resolved. He stated, and I quote, "Though final orders has been given to all members to resign membership of the other political parties, the crisis was silent on the timeline." He also said the coalition has rested everything concerned the ADA. That means they are not interested in the registration or otherwise of the association. All the presidential aspirants have agreed to support whoever wins the primary election, he stated while making the note in the meeting. For more details of this particular story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline 2027 Presidency Coalition demands Atiku Obi's full membership support.
Now I take a flight back to the newspaper with this headline. Oyebanji invests 14.2 billion naira in Ekiti education sector. And now the detail. Governor Biodun Oyebanji has expended a total of 14 million naira on education under the World Bank supported Adolescent Girl Initiative for Learning and Empowerment project to significantly improve infrastructure, digital access, students' welfare, and learning outcomes in the 203 public secondary schools across Ekiti State. The special advisor to the governor on information, retired Honorable Taiwo Olatuwosun, who made this known in Ado Ekiti, said the target is to boost secondary education opportunities by creating a sustainable, conducive, safe, and technologically equipped learning environment. Olatuwosun added that the investment also intended to increase school enrollment, security, and support indigent students in an unwavering commitment to transforming education in line with global standards. According to him, about 60.7 million naira was paid as conditional cash transfers to 2,808 indigent students to keep them in school, adding that 60 vulnerable children and gender-based violence survivors were provided supports including school uniforms, books, and learning materials for the 2023-2020 for the new session, while 2,978 furniture items were procured to meet the need of growing students population, and 41,736 students enrolled in safe space sessions across 202 schools, focusing on life skills, self-confidence, and personal development. For more details on that story, see the Hope newspaper with the headline Oyebanji invests 14.2 billion naira in Ekiti education sector.
Let me join you shortly on the Hope newspaper as well. We have breaking news: million lost as fire races shop in Akungba. Now to the detail of the story. Not fewer than 10 shops opposite to the main gate of Adekunle Ajashin University, Akungba Koko, were on Thursday night destroyed by raging inferno. The fire, which started around 10 p.m., consumed goods and valuable worth millions of naira before the shop owners could get there to the scene. One of the affected traders, who identified himself as Prince, lamented his ordeal. He said, and I quote, "I repair laptops and over 400 laptops in my shop has been burned to ashes. I don't know what to do. The laptop and my tools are all gone." Another shop owner said, and I quote, "Before we got here yesterday, the shop has already been razed. We lost 4 deep freezer and drinks and others. We have other who sell phones too here as well." Eyewitness said the fire spread rapidly through the row of shops, leaving owners helpless as they watch their investments reduced to rubble. For more details of this particular story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline "Millions lost as fire races shops in Akungba."
Still on the Hope newspaper, FRSC renews pleas to carry arms. And now the detail. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, has renewed calls for Corps to be armed, arguing that unarmed patrol teams are often helpless against reckless drivers and heavy-duty vehicles. Mohammed reignited debate over whether FRSC patrol teams should carry arms during an interview with newsmen, arguing that unarmed officers are often powerless against reckless drivers and heavy-duty vehicles. The FRSC boss apologized to Nigerians over the stress involved in processing driver licenses, pledging that a faster, improved system would debut in early October. Mohammed made this pledge while addressing wider concerns about the core operations during an interview with newsmen. He acknowledged persistent allegations of bribery and extortion by some operatives, stressing that the FRSC is tougher than many agencies in disciplining errant staff. For more details on that story, see the Earth newspaper with the headline FRSC renews pleas to carry arms.
Away from that to the Daily Post newspaper, where I have Dangote Refinery sacks all Nigerian workers 24 hours they join Pegasus. Now to the story. The management of Dangote Petroleum Refinery has terminated the employment of all its Nigerian workers. The statement to this effect was shared on X Wednesday by a political commentator, Imran Wakili. He said, and I quote, Dangote Refinery has officially laid off all its Nigerian workers under the guise of reorganization less than 24 hours after 90% of them joined Pegasus, he wrote. Wakili said the development comes less than 24 hours after 90% of them joined the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pegasus, according to the memos dated September 25, 2025, and signed by the Chief General Manager of the Human Asset Management, Femi Adekunle. Wakili posted on X. The company said the decision was taken as part of the total reorganization of the plant following the report cases of sabotage in different units of the refinery. The note directed affected staff to surrender all company properties in their possession to their line manager and obtain exit clearance. The finance department was also instructed to compute benefits and entitlement for the payments in line with the term of employment. For more detail of this particular story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline Dangote Refinery sacks all Nigerian workers 24 hours they join Pegasus.
And on the Punch newspaper, Jigawa Assembly approves 58 billion naira supplementary budget. And now the detail. The Jigawa State House of Assembly has approved a 58 billion naira supplementary budget for the 2025 fiscal year. The approval followed the adoption of the report of the House Committee on Appropriation during plenary at the Assembly complex in Dutse, the state capital. The 2025 budget, tagged Budget of Innovation and Transformation for a Greater Jigawa, was originally passed on December 31st, 2024 at 689.3 billion naira. It proved 90.7 billion naira for personnel costs, about 70.2 billion naira for recurrent expenditures, and over 537 billion naira for capital development programs. In addition to supplementary spending, the Assembly also approved 17.17 billion naira to support the 27 local government councils, covering both recurrent and capital expenses. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline Jigawa Assembly approves 558 billion naira supplementary budget.
Still taking story from the Hope newspaper as well. We have Ondo Assembly Air Civil Service Reform assure legislative support. Now to the detail of the story. The Ondo State House of Assembly Committee on Human Capital Development has lauded the state head of service, Mr. Bayo Philip, over his reform initiative aimed at repositioning the civil service for greater efficiency. The committee, led by its chairman Tokwe Agbolu, paid a working visit to the office of the head of service in Akure, where it described the civil service as the engineering room of government. It stressed the need for continuous training and restraining of workers to ensure optimum performance. Agbolu assured that the legislative would continue to provide necessary backing through legislative framework to enable the public service to thrive. He emphasized the importance of leveraging existing facilities at the Public Service Training Institute, particularly the computer-based test center, to strengthen transparency and curb fraud in recruitment processes. He also called for stronger engagement and communication between the head of service and lawmakers noting that such synergy would boost recruitment opportunity to constituents for constituents, enhance service delivery, and fast-track development across the states. According to him, he said, and I quote, "Our constituents look up to us for employment and empowerment. We urge you and your office to increase collaboration with lawmakers in creating opportunity while also sustaining transparency and efficiency in the process." For more detail of this particular story, check the Open newspaper with the headline Ondo Assembly hails civil service reform, assures legislative support.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Lagos seeks to expand non-oil exports. And now the details. The Lagos State government has urged its Export Promotion Committee to step up efforts and unite stakeholders to make Lagos a leading non-oil export hub in Nigeria and Africa. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives and Trade and Investment, Dr. Olugbemiga Aino, gave the charge at a meeting of the committee held in the ministry recently. Aino described the meeting as a strategic platform where both actionable and measurable steps are agreed upon, underscoring the urgency of diversifying the state economy by identifying key opportunities in coconut, fisheries, vegetable, and other products of the micro, small, and medium enterprise. The representative of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Bolanle Emmanuel, stated that the council had developed plans to conduct joint training sessions for stakeholders and further explained that the initiative was designed to increase the range and volume of exportable goods in Nigeria. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline Lagos seeks to expand non-oil exports.
Away from that to the Nation newspaper, where I have Barau Ganduje order step of plan to displace NNPP in Kano. Now to the story. Leaders of All Progressive Congress APC in Kano State yesterday resolved to mobilize support for the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the leader, former National Chairman Umar Ganduje, Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau, Senator Kabir Gaya, former Secretary to Government Suleiman Bichi, also vowed to reclaim the governorship from the new Nigerian political party, People's Party, NNPP. The party's stalwarts who converged on Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja noted that President Tinubu has not disappointed the ruling party, Kano State, and the country. Also at the brainstorming section that lasted for 2 hours, where the chairman of the House of Representative Committee on Appropriation, Abubakar Kabir Abubakar, Kano APC Chairman Idris Abubakar, Senator Kawu Suleiman, Senator Bashir Lado, and the state and the federal lawmakers, Ganduje told reporters that the meeting assessed the party's prospects and the state's reaffirmed support for the president's second term aspiration. For more detail of this particular story, check the Nation newspaper with the headline Barau Ganduje order step of plan to displace NNPP in Kano State.
To render your views to any of the stories read out to you, the number to call is 08165 6552 4699. 0816552 4699. And you can also follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, iPower1027FM, Instagram, the same iPower102.7FM, TikTok, iPower102.7FM, and finally on X, formerly known as Twitter, iPower102.7FM. And we move on to the Punch newspaper. Kano pays 27 billion naira outstanding gratuity, death benefits. And now the detail. The Kano State Governor has so far paid 27 billion naira out of the 48 billion naira unpaid gratuities and death benefits it inherited from the former administration of Abdullahi Ganduje. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf disclosed this as a flag off for the payment of the fifth tranche for the 1,026 retirees gratuity and death benefits at the Coronation or Government House Kano recently. It said the state government had earmarked the sum of 5 billion naira for payment of the fifth tranche gratuity and death benefits for 1,026 retirees, noting that government had paid so far 27 billion naira. Yusuf also explained that the gesture was part of the administration's vow to bring succor to retirees and their families after suffering from prolonged delay in getting their entitlement after retirement. The governor finally stressed that his administration would continue to give priority to the welfare of civil servants, especially pensioners who spent the substantial part of their lives serving the state. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline Kano pays 27 billion naira outstanding gratuity death benefits.
Away from that to the Hope newspaper, where I have Adeleke reaffirm commitment to women empowerment in Osun State. Now to the detail of the story. Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke has restated his administration's strong commitment to women empowerment, describing it as a fundamental pillar to substantial development in the state. Speaking at the closing ceremony of the Women Empowerment Training Program organized by the Springtime Development Foundation (SDF) in Ede, Governor Adeleke, represented by the Commissioner for Women Affairs, Children and Welfare and Social Welfare, Mrs. Ayebola Fadeyi Awolowo, affirmed that the government is not joking about uplifting women across the state. She said, and I quote, "Our government, since coming on board, has prioritized women empowerment as part of our development agenda, and we have remained consistent. Today's distribution of 50,000 naira each to 500 beneficiaries is a testament to our administration dedication to this cause. The training program, which focuses on substantial agriculture and agribusiness, is part of the Veronica Adeleke Women Empowerment Scheme, an initiative of the Springtime Development Foundation. Participants were trained in areas such as organic vegetable farming, cocoyam cultivation, snail breeding, and poultry farming." Chairman of the foundation, Dr. Deji Adeleke, represented by his deputy, Mr. Banji Adesuyi, explained that the initiative is designed to promote economic independence among women. He said, and I quote, "This is the first of its kind in Osun State. We have 500 women from 30 local government areas and areas office in this phase. Our goal is to reach 1,000 women, and we have committed to achieving that." He further noted that the further participants will be selected from different women groups across the state to ensure broad and inclusive impact. For more detail of the story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline Adeleke reaffirms commitment to women empowerment in Osun State.
So on the Punch newspaper, PDP vows 2027 comeback face APC failed Kwara. The People's Democratic Party councillorship candidates in Kwara State have vowed to reclaim power in 2027, declaring that the ruling All Progressive Congress has failed woefully at the grassroots since the controversial local government election on September 2024. At a press conference in Ilorin recently, the PDP candidates supported that their chairmanship counterpart said that the APC-led government has denied the state of community development, abandoned youth and women, and failed to address insecurity across the state. Coordinator of the group, Comrade Saka Muftau Aromarado, said the past year has shown that those declared winners by the KWSIEC in 2024 are unknown in their wards, lack legitimacy, and have been incapable of delivering even the smallest community projects. He added that the local government system had been reduced to a rubber stamp for decisions taken at the state level, while pointing to the Kwara State Local Government Area Chairman as an example of one of the ways the state government emasculated leadership with no autonomy. The group further accused Governor ABDULRASAQ of deliberately punishing opposition stronghold by denying them state and federal projects, describing its governance as divisive and vindictive. For more details on that story, the Punch newspaper has it with the headline PDP vows 2027 comeback, says APC field choir.
On the Daily Post newspaper, we have FAN launches contactless payment system at Lagos Abuja Airport. Now to the story. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigerian FAN has launched Operation Go Cashless, a contactless and cashless payment system. In a statement on Thursday, FAN stated that the initiative was launched in collaboration with Paystar. Report says that the payment system is expected to be deployed from September 29 at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The statement said, and I quote, effective 29 September 2025, all payment at FAN revenue point inclusion or including payments and access to gates, car park, FAN VIP, and protocol lounge will go cashless, which means that we will be phasing out the collection of cash at this point. Travelers and airport users will now enjoy fast and seamless services by using a secure contactless payment option. According to FAN, the move is in response to increasing demands for secure, modern, and transparent payment system and part of effort to keep Nigeria's airports in step with global digital standards. The agency said by reducing restlessness in cash, the move aims to enhance efficiency and improve revenue assurance, delivery a better customer experience at airport. For more detail of this particular story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline FANS launches contactless payment system at Lagos Abuja Airport.
Finally, on my end from the Nation newspaper, Nigeria offers solution to debt crisis in developing economy. And now the detail. Nigeria canvass solution to the debt crisis in developing economies and reordering of the world order to enable them access trade opportunities. This was the position of the Nigerian government as read in its statement in the early hours of today, the second day of the 80th United Nations General Assembly. The session are being held at the UN headquarters in New York, United States. The statement was read by Vice President Kashim Shettima for the second year running on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The president called for sovereign debt relief to developing countries as they record significant progress in their growth journey. He also proposed a radical reform of the global financial system characterized by the new mechanism in addressing the debt crisis. For more details on that story, the Nation newspaper has it with the headline Nigeria offers solution to debt crisis in developing economy.
And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of the headline and more. Welcome back. We are still on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM in Murele or Ondo State. You can connect with us via our number by calling us to share your perspective about the headline and stories read so far on 081 65524699. 081 65524699. You can also join us on our X and do our Instagram and TikTok and Facebook by searching for iPower 1027 FM. iPower 1027 FM. To share your perspective, you can comment on our Facebook, on our Instagram, TikTok, or X. Even on our YouTube, you can search for iPower 1027 FM. You can search, follow, and subscribe on our page to get more information and happening across Nigeria and beyond. Starting from the headline recap, we read to you from the opening newspaper that Ondo one senior civil servant against use of private emails from the Open newspaper.
So on the Oak newspaper, we also informed you that Ondo is to hold our East Student Festival November.
Then we move straightly to the Open newspaper as well, where we brought to you a story coming from the Open newspaper that Ayedatiwa approved borehole drills for correctional service, women and the children affairs.
We also told you on the Oak newspaper that the federal government has raised flood alerts in Ondo, 14 other states, and 69 communities.
We also moved to the Punch newspaper, where we brought to you that Ladoja waits for 32 years to be crowned as the Ladoja of Ibadan land.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Southeast governors pushing for Nnamdi Kanu release, says OT.
Then we move to the Punch newspaper, where we talked about 2027 coalition that Atiku, that the Labour Party, that the ADC, that the coalition party, asked Atiku Obi to resign from the previous party.
We also told you on the Punch newspaper that the NSCDC has brokered peace among Oshun warring communities.
Then we bring us breaking news from on those story as well from the Open newspaper, where we brought to you that million lost as fire receives shop in Akungba.
We also informed you on the Punch newspaper that the magistrates have sent a lawyer to prison over Uzodima's criticism.
Then we move swiftly to the Daily Post newspaper, where we brought to you that Dangote refinery sack all Nigerian workers. 24 hours they join Pegasus.
Back to the Open newspaper, where we told you that Oyebanji has invested 14.2 billion naira in Ekiti education sector.
Then I join you shortly on the Open newspaper as well, that we read the story that Ondo Assembly hails civil service reform, assures legislative support.
Still on the Open newspaper, we informed you that the FRSC has renewed pleas to carry arms.
Then we brought to you from the Nation newspaper, where we gave you the story that Barao Ganduje orders step of plan to displace NNPP in Kano State.
We took a flight back to the Punch newspaper, where we informed you that Lagos is seeking to expand non-oil exports.
Then we brought to you a story coming from the Open newspaper as well, that Adeleke reaffirmed commitment to women empowerment in Osun State.
We told you so on the Punch newspaper that the PDP has vowed 2027 comeback, and they have also said that APC has failed Quora.
And lastly, from the Daily Post newspaper, we inform you that FAN launches contactless payment system at Lagos and Abuja airport.
And with that, that brings us to the end of today's edition of In the Papers. We have taken you through major headlines from newspapers within and outside Nigeria at iPower 102.7 FM, and we hope this review has kept you informed on the key issues shaping conversations today. On behalf of myself, INIOLUWA ADEKOYA, and my colleague
ABDULRASAQ ALAWAYE,
I hope you have a wonderful morning. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, have a productive and pleasant day.
good morning to you.